process to perform, helping you harness your potential on the way to greatness. I'm your host, Mike Wall. Thanks as always for listening. If you're enjoying, please subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes or Spotify. We also put a YouTube channel up to help aspiring athletes train while they're in isolation using minimum equipment, whether that's movement prep or we start getting into position-specific skills here shortly. So please check that out. We're very lucky this week. We're going to talk with one of the guys. You know, every time I have a guest on, I always want, there's kind of a theme that the reason I have the guy on, like you want to talk about something that they bring to the table that's very unique to them. Mike Pouncey, who's a multiple postseason honors guy from the Miami Dolphins and now the Los Angeles Chargers. He was a national champion and an All-American with the Florida Gators before that. The way that he approaches the game, his mindset, his desire to be, the greatest player in the league is probably rivaled by very few, if any, and maybe the only person is his twin brother Marquise, who plays for the Pittsburgh Steelers and has also had a wonderful, wonderful career. So Mike and I worked together for a number of years in Miami. Marquise actually came down one offseason and trained with us, so I got a glimpse of what those two are like together and how hard they push each other. And that's, if you're ever in that room with those two, you understand why they're so great. Mike's now just finished up with a Zoom call with the Los Angeles Chargers. He now works with James Campen, who was actually Circle of Life deal. He was actually a line coach in Green Bay when I was up there, so I know Campy well. Great guy, great coach, and let's just see how this goes. How you been, big guy?
Doing good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great. We're just gonna do audio if you don't mind. I'll tell you what's funny. It's 2020. Elon Musk is talking about colonizing Mars, and our freaking internet's so bad that jeez. I'm hiding in Maddox's room right now in the corner of the house because it's next to the Wi-Fi.
Oh my God,
bro!
Man,
I can't buy.
I literally, man, I'm telling you,
I can't buy. Like the lowest thing you can buy is 30 megabytes per second, or whatever. That's the highest one. That's the lowest one you could buy where you live. That's the highest one I can buy where I live. I'm tapped out. Yeah, man.
You all the way done. I couldn't live there.
Well, I'm getting to that point. How's Campy doing?
He's doing good. He told me to tell you hello. I was already out the call when you told me to tell him to join, but he told me to tell you hello. I was going to do the podcast with you today.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
He's a good dude, man. I like him a lot, bro.
So he's got like, he told me one time, because he came in when I was like, gosh, maybe 5-6 years in. Mm-hmm. And so he was with Beck, and Beck wasn't a great dude, but he was a pretty good, he's a pretty good coach. He knew how to kind of get you technically right. But I think Campy became the guy very soon after I left. He was the head guy in Green Bay for like 12 years, dude. Like that. And he had some good lines.
Yeah, he had some really good ones.
Like it's no, at some point, it's no accident.
Because bro, once you play and you coach, you just get it. Like I think he just gets it. Like he played and he coached, so I think he understands it. Like how hard it is out there.
Hey, I was going to ask you about this though, because I never played for a former player. How's it playing for? Because Lynn played running back, right?
Yeah, he was a running back with the Denver Broncos. I think he won 2 Super Bowls with them. But he's been awesome, man. That's an awesome experience, man. Like I was saying before with Coach Campen, like a guy that's played in the league before and now he's on the other side of the coaching part of it. They just get it. They understand how tough it is to play week in and week out in this league at a high performance. But I mean, he runs it the right way. He's not over friendly as a player friendly coach because he's more of on the discipline side of it. Like this is the way we're going to run things. But when you're a guy that's played a long time like him, then guys just tend to respect you more no matter how you run it.
It's crazy. Like if you think about, you look like basketball, baseball, soccer. Like we're really the only sport where like the best, like a lot of the best coaches are guys that never played. It's like greatest coach of all time never played a snap in the NFL, right? I don't think Lombardi played a snap. It's just wild.
Like I don't understand how it just got to that point. I think we need more former players, in our league, especially the way that the curve's going and with the player safety thing. I just feel like, man, the guys that played in this league before and know how fast and how split of a second, something can happen. And I just feel like those guys need to be in our league coaching our players.
Yeah. Where you and Marquise training?
Right down here in Florida off Griffin Road. South Florida off Griffin Road in Davie. Right. They closed down all the gyms, but my buddy owns a private gym down here, so we just go in there every morning. He opens it up for us, and we just go in there for 2 hours and then get out. I'm ready for him to open this damn country back up.
Well, you guys are in testing ground central, right? Florida's gonna be really the case model
I
for all
mean,
this.
yeah, besides the what areas we in, they're kind of more strict on Broward and Dade County because of, it's kind of
Population
the
density.
spots where everybody wants to be at.
Yeah, man. Hey, so one of the things I really want to talk about today with you is just I was always so impressed with your mindset, and so I'll include your brother in this conversation. Like, you guys are as tough mentally as there are in the league, and you guys, I mean, there's plenty of amazing athletes in the NFL, right? And you guys are strong and you're fast, but there's faster and stronger guys. But you every year in year out, you're top performers. So, what do you think it is about your approach to competition that's continued to separate you guys over the years? Like, how do you approach the game now that you think is different than a lot of these young cats?
I feel like for me and my brother, our mindset was always that no matter what, we just wanted to be the best. And every year we go into it, we know that we got to go out there and prove ourselves. So our motto was always, man, when you go out there and practice every day, practice like you're a second teamer trying to outbeat somebody that's first team. So our mindset was like, I would practice like I was a second teamer, like there was somebody in front of me that I was chasing somebody, but what I was really chasing was just the greatness part of it. Wasn't chasing nobody that was going to outbeat me. It was the more mindset like, man, practice and prepare like you're a second teamer. And if you do that, I just feel like it just makes you work harder because you're like, man, somebody's going to beat me out. They're going to draft the guy. They're going to sign the guy. And it was always our motto, like, man, practice like a second teamer.
So does that
Not
come
like
from
a guy that's stuck in his ways like he's supposed to be there.
Does a lot of that come from the fact that you guys identical twins? Obviously, I think you guys were probably pretty good at a young age, right? Was football your main sport from day one?
Yeah, we started at 6.
Oh, well, there you go.
So we've always been in competition with each other, but once we split away from each other, we had to, keep that mindset, man. Hey, we ain't got each other there to push each other no more. We spent every day of our life together up until he left to go to the draft. And then after that, we had to remind ourselves, like, hey, I ain't going to be there to push you in practice and tell you, hey, do this, do that. It's got to be a mindset for yourself to say, man, someone's there to beat you out every single day. And that was all. And I think that's where it got us to where we are. It's the way we go approach our daily ways. I'm telling you right now, I sent Coach Lynn this video the other day of this Navy SEALs guy, and I think you probably seen it before. He's giving a speech about making his bed, right?
Oh, of course, yeah, yep. 4-star album.
That one, and it just made me think about what really makes a player like a great player, and it's routine and discipline. That's what makes a great player a great player. Now, the talented players, the ones that are talented and have the routine and discipline, you see those guys. They're the Hall of Fame players. You know what I'm saying? But what makes a guy a good player, a good football player, is him getting in a routine and him having discipline enough to have that routine every single day of his life. Like when me and my brother go out to eat, we're like, man, we can't eat fast food today, bro. We it's gonna make us this, it's gonna make us that. We can't eat pizza. Like that's bad carbs. Like that's the way we think. Our everyday life, what we do, we go out. If we're going out on a Sunday, we can't drink today. We got to work out on Monday because we put ourselves in such of a routine that if we feel like we break it, we won't be the same players. We haven't ever been able to really enjoy an off season because every time we get in the off season, we're like, man, if we're going to travel, it's a Friday afternoon and we have to leave Sunday morning wherever we fly to because we had to be back on workouts on Monday. And I just feel like if you don't have that discipline, those guys get washed in our league. That's why our league's 3.5 years of average player because they don't put that discipline in once they leave college because college is so structured for you. You go to class, you go to workouts. Your coaches are forcing you to go to the study hall. They're forcing you to work out. It's all structured. In the NFL, you spend 6 months with a football team, and then you go 6 months with your family pretty much. And you got to force yourself to get better and better in the offseason for those 6 months. And it's just a lot of guys can't do it. They don't have the mindset to push themselves in the offseason like they were getting pushed in college.
What about let's talk about Florida then. So both of you guys are at Florida. I think you guys won a national championship like 2009, right?
Yep.
I said you guys have such a great amount of players around you at Florida and such a great staff. Like, what's that culture like? Like, who's driving the culture there? Is that coming from Urban Meyer? Is that coming from the players? What's that like?
Well, I think what it was that we had a group of guys from 06 and 07 draft class or recruiting class that had a mindset that we created a culture that, you know what, all of us are going to do 3 years and we're going to go to the NFL. So we created a culture where, man, everything we did was about football for 3 years in a row to be like, man, if we go as hard as we can for 3 years and do as good as we can, get as fast, strong, stay out of trouble, do whatever we got to do for those 3 years. Our mindset was do whatever for those 3 years and we go to the NFL. And I think we created a culture where it was so competitive because guys were like, man, I got to be this, I got to be that, I want to be this, I want to be that, to where it was, man, you either bought into that culture or you was a guy that just stuck out like a sore thumb.
See, you guys are so far ahead a lot. I mean, you're way way farther ahead than what I was thinking about at that age. But being able to come up that way and have that mindset at an early age, you set that standard for having that routine discipline, having all those, creating all those good habits at an early stage. Because once you got that routine down, once you have those habits that you want to stick with, that you already know are right, that's why we try to get them here on this podcast. That's all we talk about, Mike. Routine and habit formation. Because if you get them young, you have them forever. Now, if you screw them up young, or if you get lazy, you show up at 21, you got nothing going on upstairs, it's a long road, man. Because we're not like unmolded clay at 21, 22 years old. We already have habits, and the lack of curiosity, for example, is something that it's hard to get over. That you see that all the time in the league. That's why guys like you, they can figure it out early, play for 10, 12, 14 years. The rest of these cats, man, that's, like you said, it's 3.5 year stint.
I've enjoyed the process, man. I'm telling you, being able to play for a different organization, it was like gave me a different view on a lot of things. I looked at everything. I looked at the business side more, because for a guy like me, I never ever thought I would play for another football team. I thought I was a guy that was going to stick with one organization and be there for my whole career. And I kind of got a reality check, like, man, this league runs without, they don't wait on nobody. The football games is going to still be played. You see, they're about to release the schedule on Thursday, so no matter what, the NFL is getting played. And
you like to think the problem. See, we always have this illusion of control as professional athletes, right? We think we can control everything. We think that we're untouchable, and we can actually, through just sheer force of will, we can make things happen. And some things are out of your control. And like you said, like life is going to go on whether you're there or not. It's a very humbling experience, but it helps you grow. Mike, when we talk about routine, right? One thing that is consistent with you on game day, confidence. You have this. Now, you've had lineup changes. Like, you've played for sub 500 football teams for a long time. That's tough, man. But you're there every day with that confidence. Like, what is and we talk about manufacturing emotion, right? Some guys got to manufacture emotion on game day because they don't know how to get up. They're scared, but you're just having a good. I always tell that you're having a better time than everybody else. That's how I was like. People ask me about you. I go, he's confident and he's just having a better time than everybody else. And what's your game day approach? Like, do you have things that you need to do specifically to get into that mindset?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm a big on routine. Like I said before, like, I eat the same thing on game day. I leave the house at the same time. I go when I get to the facility at wherever, football field or stadium we're playing at. I do the exact same thing. And for me, it's always worked for me. And it's always every time I've ever got myself motivated for a game, it was self-motivation. It didn't take for anybody to say anything in the media. It didn't take for a coach to, tell me, hey, I need you to, be at your best today. It was when I went to sleep that night, I dreamed about how I was going to play. Every time I played in a football game. And when I go to sleep that night before the football game, I think about how I'm going to play. And every time at the very end, I've scored a touchdown. It's never happened. So,
oh man!
I just feel like if you really believe it and you dream it, it's going to come to fruition. And for me, I never ever went into a game scared to be like, man, I don't know what's going to happen today. Like, man, what if he does this? What if he does that? And I hate when coaches be like, man, you know what? I want you to watch every single film on this, every single snap on this guy. Go watch film on him. And my mindset's always been, if I go out there and I'm at my best, how can he beat me? If I go out there and say, hey, come off with a good step, with a flat back, get your hands inside, there's no way he can beat me because I feel like I'm better than him every single play. So I don't go out there and I don't overthink about the guy I'm going against. I go every single day in practice, and Mike, you've been around, so you can attest to this. Every single day in practice, I think about how can I better myself for the game. When I'm in walkthrough, when I'm out there doing a drill, I'm like, man, fuck, if I mess up in a drill in practice, I feel like, man, I'm gonna miss that same block in the game. So I have to do the drill over. I have to do it right, because if I miss that block in practice, I know in my head I'm gonna miss that block in the game. So I have to either walk through that same rep, or I have to get that same rep full speed before the game, or I know I'm going to miss that block in the game. And I don't know if it's just a mind thing for me, or if it's something that's made me the player I am today, but it's always been like that.
It's both. And honestly, that's why I wanted you on the show, because you understand exactly what it is that makes you special, right? You have a unique bend, you have footwork, you're a technician, and you also have a work rate that is higher than everybody else's, right? Higher than your peers, higher than your competition. You have a level of focus that is higher than your peers and a level of competition. but you consistently, you go through the level of detail that you go through in walkthroughs, like brings a tear to my eye, because that's how we used to do it. And now the way that you separate yourself, even from the teams that you're on, your peers, you're going through you're in a full sweat doing walkthrough, because you're making all the calls. Your first 4 or 5 steps are correct. Your bends right, like you said, flat back, hands inside, working your technique, getting that rep, whether it's a mental rep, however you want to look at it, that mind-body connection, you're getting that every single time. But you're consistently training at that intensity level that's preparing you for kind of your body type, your style of play. You'll understand, like, work rate is something that you can be better at. That's your superpower. You can outwork everybody, and you embrace that. You know what I mean? A lot of people don't understand what their superpower is.
Oh, then it's got us this far, because I can tell you right now, Mike, me and you worked out before. You know, I'm not the strongest, I'm not the fastest, but what I am, I'm tough, and I'm gonna pay attention to detail. Everything about the game of football, everything that makes a lineman a good football player, I've learned it. I've heard it from every coach. And the stuff that I believe in, I take, and I'll never let it go. And I want to pass it down to other people, because I just feel like without any of that, without the intangibles that we're talking about, you don't have a chance. You might make it there, but what's making it? Making it's playing 10 to 12 years and, being able to take care of your family for the rest of your life. In my eyes, it ain't just getting drafted on draft day, because we've seen a lot of guys get drafted and look like they're going to be the happiest person in the world, and 2 years later out of the league.
You ever talk to Pete Carroll? You ever talk football with Pete Carroll before?
No, I haven't. I only just in the pre-draft process when I had to meet with him.
Yeah, so there's I don't know if this is true or not, but there's always, the stories always come out with that, like the Legion Boom guys always come out like Pete Carroll asks you just flat out, what do you want out of this game when he's interviewing you, right? And if you don't say, like, I want to be a Hall of Famer, I want to change the position, it's like, I'm just happy being in the NFL guy. If you give like that, I'm happy to be here answer, or I want to help you out however you can answer, he's like, no, it's not good enough, right? You want special players. The organization wants special players, and it's hard to root those guys out, right? Maybe I don't know if that's the right way to do it or not, but like certainly like that always made sense to me. Like, oh, you guys are actually looking for game changers. That's why those guys are so good. That makes sense to me.
Mike, I'm telling you right now, I make a great scout. Because it still blows my mind. It still blows my mind to this day when coaches come up to me and they're like, hey, man, get him to work a little harder. I'm like, man, like how? Like, how can I get him to work harder? You paid him millions of dollars and he's not working hard. How am I going to get him to work harder? He's a grown man. I'm like, what? Did you do your research during your scouting process and know that this guy didn't work hard? Because it would be simple to me not to draft a guy like that.
Mike, I'm gonna float something for you right now. I'm going to float this for you right now. When you guys are done, all right, you're going to go back to what you pick a team. You guys are going to go back and you're going to start a little you're just going to get all X players, but they got to be good players, right? Guys you respect. You go back and you say to every general manager, you go, listen, a shark can smell a shark. You put me in a room with an offensive lineman for 30 seconds, I'll tell you whether or not you should draft him or not, whether he's good for this organization.
I'm telling you, bro. I'm not saying that the guy won't go and get injured or something like that, but I know a guy. I know football players, bro. And I'm gonna tell you one thing. This is a true story. I'm not gonna tell you who the guy was, but I had a guy come to me one time and ask me, and this is one of our IRL guys. Says, man, who would you take? And this has nothing to do with either player, but they asked me before I knew either player. And I said, he asked me, who would you take? You would take Travis Kelce or Deion Sanders? I was like, I'd take Travis Kelce. He's like, why? I said, because I've been around him. I know he's a dog. I've been around both of them. Like I know how he is. I know his mindset. Like he's like, okay. And he took it from there, and the rest is history. You know what I'm saying? He's with Kansas City Chiefs, and he's one of the best tight ends in our league. But for me, I'm just like, man, yeah, you just know him, bro. Like you know guys that are like dogs. When you talk to them, you can just tell right away, man. I know what kind of player this is. And for me, I just feel like I'd be a great scout. And you know anybody hiring?
Oh, I'm pretty sure you guys get a job anywhere you want. Hey, what's that resume? That resume looks pretty strong. You know, you know what I mean?
You ain't lying.
Oh, geez.
So does yours though too, Mike. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yours a little better than mine. I can tell you that.
It is a wild play. The NFL is different now. The NFL is different for sure. But
it's crazy.
It's like a drug almost. The NFL is like a drug, and here's what I mean by that. Once you've been in it, right? It's like you can't imagine. It's like I almost can't imagine like doing anything else. Like when I got back out, like from the outside, it looks crazy, and even now, like I'm kind of on the fringes of being around football, being around the league, but on the outside, like some of the stuff that goes on, it looks crazy. But once you're in it, you're like, you can't imagine any other way to do it. You know, it's a weird feeling. Like, it's just because it's so much. It's just people don't understand. If you love playing, how much fun it is playing. Like how much fun it is being in the locker room. How much fun it is preparing. Like that routine that you talk about. Like how much pride you can take in everything that you do because of that preparation, because that challenge that's before you week in and week out. Like it's so special. It's so special.
I'm telling you, I can't imagine they not being in the NFL. Like it's just still crazy to even believe that I'm in year 10 right now. Like I still remember the day I got drafted. I still remember, talking to guys when I first came in and saying, there's no way I can't see myself playing in year 10. Like how does it feel to be in year 10? And it just, bro, I'm telling you, and you probably know better than me. It went by in a blink of an eye.
It really does. It's just like anything else. Like it's like once you have kids, like once you have kids, like time speeds up. It's like year 3 to year 8. Like, I don't even remember. I mean, you do, but it's all, you just remember snaps and, certain like funny moments and everything. Yeah. I'm telling you, man.
Maybe a game or two.
Hey, so, and you guys, you played center. I mean, all but 2-3 games of your career. You've been starting center for so long. That's that general in the offensive line room. Right? And now you're on question I guess the veteran presence in any room you walk into, right? So how does your mindset change? You talked about it a little bit before about, how do you want to pass that information along? How do you deal with being that veteran guy now? I mean, because you've had some good guys and you've seen all kind of leadership types, you know what I mean? Like what do you take now?
I still approach it the same way. I lead from day one, and I just feel like the way that you go about it is you show the young guys the right way to do it. You don't act like you're a guy that's ever too cool for school, because I always show guys, man, listen, they just drafted you to take my position. Like I had a kid that was literally, I coached him at the Nike Open in Oregon. That we got invited there one year to coach the O-line. He was a kid that's promised everything. It's crazy. He's like, man, I look up to you and your brother. He ended up signing with UCLA. Now I've been in the league 8 years now at this point, and he gets drafted. The Chargers draft him we draft him to the Chargers in the 5th round. And the kid told me, he's like, man, I told you I was going to make it here, and I told you it was going to be in the same offensive line room. I was like, it's crazy, like how just the circle of life where you just meet kids and you just think that you'll never see them again. And now all of a sudden we're sharing the same offensive line room. And I love it. I love that I get to see him, because now I pass down everything to him. Like we're on our Zoom calls, and I'm on there like the coach. I'm very open. I'm talking about stuff. I'm texting him on the side like, hey, this is how I learned it when we ID guys. I read it from the weak side to the strong side. If it's like, say it's 64 protection, I'm reading it from the left to right, to find who the mic is, because that's the way I was taught when I came in. I just feel like it was an easy way of learning, because right now these Zoom calls have became like the biggest thing in the NFL. It's the biggest thing in our country, honestly, as far as school goes, and guys being able to be at work at home. And I'm telling you, bro, like I was big on, before we signed our new CBA, of giving us more of an off season, because I feel like our season's so long, we never really have time to spend time with our family, and we never really have time to rest our bodies, because if you're a team that makes it deep in the playoffs, you're done in February, we're back in April, right? Mm-hmm. So you got a month and a half off. I'm like, man, why can't all of April, the first phase, why can't, now that we know that it's possible, why can't we all just do online and let guys stay home for the first month of the off season, give guys more time at home, now that we proved that we could do this online, And because if any program that we've ever been in, the first 3 to 4 weeks, you're just in there in the weight room, kicking the shit, getting back to, used to being around the guys. And then we get into the playbooks right before we go on to the field for OTAs.
Right.
That process to me, bro, that they need to really look into, and, trying to figure out something like give guys more time at home, especially with the way this online class stuff been going. Because I've learned more in the past 2 weeks and a half than I would being in the facility, bullshitting around with the guys,
Yep. Yeah, you're so right. It's funny. I talked about this a couple of weeks ago, Mike. Like when I was playing, we didn't have off-season programming at all. So the entire offseason was 13 days. We had 2 3-day mini camps, and then we had, depending on the coach, you had a 7 or 8 day mini camp. Okay. So my entire offseason in the building in Lambeau was 13 days. And that was all camp time. Right. Because, and so my approach to offseason is, hey, the offseason is really time to get bigger, faster, stronger, and better technically. Right. Because everything else you can learn in a relatively short amount of time, and you can do it, like you said, right, especially now with technology, you can do it over Zoom meetings. But it's that opportunity to know more about yourself, like how, like there's so many different ways to prepare physically. Like you guys have tried, I mean, you've been to different coaches, right? You tried yoga, Pilates. You guys have done all this stuff. You work with different technical guys. Like you guys have all, you've had the opportunity to do that. You've taken time to do that because you have curiosity. But what about these young guys who don't have that curiosity, like, and they've just been stuck in the same model over and over? Like this is such a unique time to get out there and learn more about yourself and how to fix your own problems.
Yep. And we've had that, and some of that is part of the argument that we've had, as far as like being able to develop young guys. You need more time to have them in the building to be able to develop them. And I'm just like, the guy really get developed in our off season because of the way our rules are set up. Like we're in helmets for 15 days out of the whole off season, and most of that stuff you're protecting each other out there because there's no pads on. You don't want to bring guys up. So for me, I just felt like if we can't get better, if you can't get a guy ready to be an NFL player in 6 weeks in training camp, then we got the wrong coaches. Because man, I mean, what more do you need? You got 6 weeks of training camp where guys are going to be banging, walk through hour of film study. Like what more do you need? So for me, my whole thing was, even if you do the whole off season, which I've always done, I've never ever skipped out on it just because I just felt like, it's good for team building. But for me, even if you do the whole off season from April till June, man, you take a month and a half off. You go back with your other coaches that you've been working with, and they teach you totally different stuff. So now you got to come back 6 weeks later, come back to training camp and learn all the stuff over that you was training with your coach doing. You get what I'm saying? So when they make a big emphasis on, we got to have the off season for, so we can get guys and develop guys. Like, who are you going to develop in a helmet when the veterans or most of the guys out there or the coaches are saying, hey, you can't pick him on this play. If you're on a TE stunt, how can you really get good at a TE stunt when you can't pick the guard? So
yeah, you know what? But Mike, the difference is like you and your brother are out there grinding every morning. You wake up early every morning. I mean, you guys, we had to race to get to the gym first, right? I mean, you're out there every morning putting your work in. If you got something technically you want to work on, or if you're like, I remember last time you and I worked out, you were coming back from an injury. So you were working on your technical stuff, getting in your stance, getting your start, getting that initial step, getting that pad level low. Like you're working on that all the time. Like the problem is because when you institute a framework where everybody's got to be somewhere for a certain amount of time, that's oftentimes becomes their only reality. And that's the only time they work on it. So if you remove that from them now, it's like a vicious cycle, right?
Yeah, but Mike, at what point do you say, all right, this guy, average NFL career is only 3.5 years. At what point do you treat a guy like that's a professional athlete, like a professional athlete? Like, hey, you're gonna have 3 months off. Stay in shape. This is your job. This is your livelihood. Like you shouldn't. If you're coaching a guy to stay in shape with the 3 months that he's off from football, you drafted the wrong guy. You're paying the wrong guy money. You're supposed to be a guy that's no matter what out there working his ass off. Because, bro, for a professional athlete, for me, you're a professional athlete. You just stay in shape year round. There ain't no time to take 2 months off. I'm not saying that you got to grind and deadlift 600 pounds every time you go in the gym, but, bro, you're a professional athlete. Go to the gym every single day. That's what you do. Go in there, stretch around, ride the bike, do something. Like, that's what we're paid to do is be professional athletes. We shouldn't have a period where I go to a guy and the season's ending, he's like, oh, yeah, I ain't worked out in 2 weeks or 2 months. Like, that makes no sense to me. Like, you're getting paid to be a professional athlete. Be a professional athlete.
You music to my ears, man.
To the point where it's like, bro, if I got to tell a guy that's not in the building to work on his technique and to work harder in the offseason when I'm not babying him, we got the wrong guy. And we got the wrong scouts. We need to fire that whole department too. So
here's the only thing. I completely agree with you. Here's the only thing here's where I think we've gotten that's a little bit different, right? We are at the point now with a lot of these athletes, a lot of these young guys, they've been taught to do from day one, since they were 12 years old, man. They're getting all this hype. They get social media followers. They got people loving on them. They got college coaches, kissing their backside when they're in high school. They got all these people, right? You know what that breeds? Complacency, right? There's no curiosity there. You're not fostering your curiosity about how to help yourself. You're being told what to do all the time. So my whole thing is a lot of those guys, the messaging gets mixed up because they don't know what to do. Like the younger guys, they don't know how to fix their problems, Mike. And they don't know, like you say, going to that technical work, like you're right. You're 100% right. I'm just telling you the default for a lot of humans is when they don't understand what to do, the default is to kind of go with whatever's put in front of them or, just like kind of go into that shell. And we need to do a better job, right? If we're going to
Okay.
send somebody out for 3 months or whatever, it's got to be, hey, we're going to work on this technique or we're going to work on this lift. Like, it's got to be detailed. We got to give them exactly what they need to be successful. And then if they still aren't doing it, hey, man, get out of there.
Mike, you're working for the owners. I'm telling you, you're working for the owners. Listen, that's their same argument. But in my eyes, I'm like, listen, let's cut out the dead period. If a guy needs to go in there and work with a coach, why can't he go in the building and work with a coach? The coach is there all season. If he wants to go and you need a guy to get baby, then I'm not saying they can't go in the facility and be there to work out every day. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, why do we need to put it in a place where we got to make it quote unquote pretty much mandatory, voluntary mandatory a certain amount of days? You get what I'm saying?
Oh, Mike, I don't think I'm working for. I think I'm exactly saying the same thing you are. I'm just giving you a reasoning behind these young guys, like how to reach them better. That's all. That's all.
And I know I get that, but you got to remember our off season is voluntary too. It's nothing mandatory about it. Like if a guy really doesn't want to be there, he doesn't have to be there. So for me, I've seen so many different guys, like as you know, being in the league. Like I'm like, all right, well, this guy doesn't come to OTAs, but shit, he's our best player. You know what I'm saying? Like what makes him like why didn't he be there? You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, do we really need an off season where it's like kind of like voluntary, mandatory to be there, or can we just be like, you know what, guys? I'm not saying take the whole off season away, but I'm saying from April until we go on the field for OTAs, why do we need to be there? We could take that month off and just work out on our own and be able to be away from the football a little bit more, be around our families, and then come back at the beginning of May, do May through June 15th. You know what I'm saying?
Mike, I'm 100%. I 100% agree with you, dude. You got to remember, I never went to mandatory off season. I never went to off seasons. Like I'm with you. I'm just saying that we need more guys like you. We need more guys like you helping those young guys. Like, hey, you need somebody to work out with? Okay, you work out with me. You know what I mean? Oh, you need somebody to jump on with? Jump on with me. Do what I'm doing because I'm doing the right thing. I'm not. It has nothing to do.
In place. I'm just saying. I think the structure that we have is good. I just feel like it's just a little too long for me. That's honestly what I think. And I was speaking on more like the length of it. Like, do we? I understand why we need it because it builds camaraderie. Guys get to learn the plays. You can't tell me that unless you're like a DB or something, what's really full speed? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Unless it's 7-on-7, like when we go 11-on-11, like it's full speed, but I mean it's not because if I'm a D tackle, I'm gonna go full speed, but in my mind I'm like, oh shit, I might be like it might be full speed, but it's a little bit notch under because you're like, oh, I don't want to hit my shoulder or something. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, you're right.
For me, I always appreciated the way college football is set up because at least in spring ball you get to put on pads for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, the problem is you guys some of the, at least back in the day, some of the unit reps were the old guys who didn't want to hit getting pads. There's always somebody, right? Always somebody wants to get fed.
Hey, JC's our guy. We got O line. We got a good guy in there. I like him. JC Treader.
Yeah, right on. Hey, I don't know him. Good guy.
He went to school. Actually, he I forgot the college he went to, but that was his degree to work as a union like.
Oh, so he's dialed in.
He mastered in like how to run unions and stuff like that. But he's a smart guy, and he wants to run. He's big on player safety. You know how linemen are. They always want to take care of everybody.
When you and I used to work out, I always talk about you want to do something. If you're going to learn a skill, right, you got to start in like some sort of static environment, some safe environment, right? And you got to add some sort of dynamic movement to it. You want to put some sort of distraction in front of you, like whether it's a snap count or whether linebackers are shifting in front of you. So you have to think about multiple things like that mental training. And that's, for the off season, you can get pretty far down the road doing all that stuff until you can actually put pads on, until you can actually go full speed. Like you can get so much out of it. That's what I keep preaching to coaches right now is like, hey, we can get so much action out of your players right now. You can get so much better just on technical discipline by just going through those three things. And you don't need anybody to do it. Shoot, you could record your quarterback on audio right now, going through your snap count, calling different plays out, get down, put some crowd noise in, or change the cadence. Man, you can do all that right now. That's easy. Yeah. And then later on, man, when you get, like you said, when you get into some more of a live situation, put some pads on. Okay, now we have to adapt. We have to go live. We have to go to situational. Easy stuff. I love it, man. Hey, look, you got anything else going on you want to you want to mention?
No, I was just gonna give you some shit about Campy. I like him a lot, bro. He's a good dude, man.
Yeah, tell me. So God, can't I? It's like I had Joe Philbin. Joe Philbin was before Campy, right?
Yeah, I know. He was
And
right
then
before Camp. Yep.
and then we had Camp. We had some good guys. We also had this guy Irv Eatman who was in there. Irv Eatman was like 6'8", 330, sitting in the back of the room all the time. All he said is yep.
Oh, you know who else we got, bro? We got Dave Affonte. David Affonte, Diaz
Yeah.
Affonte.
Yeah, how's he doing?
He's doing good. He's assistant O-line coach now. He came out of I guess he forfeited his disability, I guess, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's wild, actually.
Yeah. I mean, if you really look at it, with them cutting out the TMP, I mean, a lot of guys had to, because you lose out on $36,000. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of guys had to find different stuff, because when they did this new when we signed a new CBA, they kind of changed some language in the TMP that a lot of guys didn't know about. And the team, basically what happened was, if you didn't get approved by the NFL, all the guys were going to Social Security and getting approved through that and getting disability through there. So if you got approved through disability through Social Security, you automatically got the NFL one, right?
Yep.
So there was a loophole where you would get the 36,000 plus whatever the NFL's disability was, because you was getting Social Security and disability. So what they did was, with the new TMP, was they cut out the middleman. So if you go through Social Security to get your disability, they automatically deduct 36,000 from whatever disability you get approved for. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Yeah, I read that.
I'm like, that's really losing out on 72,000, because
that's
you know
right.
What I'm saying? You don't get the 36 and you lose 36. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, what the fuck? Like, that's 72,000. You can't do that to guys. Like, guys that live their lives on that and depend on that.
Oh man,
I can't do that, especially this late in life. Like, what are they gonna do? They're gonna get a new job? Like, are you like? It just pissed me off.
That's their mortgage payment right there, right? You take that mortgage payment away, all of a sudden.
The Asian giant wasp now they released.
The murder hornets.
Oh my god, bro! When does it end?
Like, hey, my kids are running around last night. I swear to God, this happened. My kids are running around last night, and they started screaming because they thought a murder hornet was in the pool.
I'm so scared. Like, I'm thinking about that shit now. I'm like, damn, is they really out here? I'm watching videos on World Cup, like 6 of them, one tearing a rat alive. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Like,
yeah, you know what's funny is that I just read this morning that it's like, if a hornet stings you 40 times, you're probably going to die anyways. And they said it takes like 30, 40 stings to die. It's not like it bites you once, you're just dead.
I'm going house searching now. Hopefully I find one. If I do, I'll see a picture of it.
Hey, pals, thanks for being on, man. I appreciate you.
No problem, man. Thanks for having me, brother.
See you, man. Again, huge thanks for Mike Pouncey for joining us today. You got to love a guy who speaks with that much conviction and passion about what he does. So, a lot to learn from there, a lot to unpack. Hope you enjoyed. This is Process to Perform. We'll be on in a couple days again. I'm your host, Mike Wall. Again, if you like us, please subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes and Spotify. Any questions, send to info@unrivaledsystems.com or hit me up on Twitter @unrivaledess. Thanks again for listening. See ya.